deal, my people? You know who it is, Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one, and this one is the Forsaken Dream Sequences. And in this video right here, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the dream sequences of the damn pair in the Forsaken chapter that was released by George R.R. Martin. And this transcribed account I'll be reading of the Forsaken is from AngryGotFan.com, and the link will be in the description. Rats moved in the darkness, swimming through the water. They would bite him as he slept until he woke and drove them away with shouts and thrashings. Aeron's beard was scalp crawled with lice and fleas and worms. He could feel them moving through his hair, and their bites itched him intolerably. The chains were so short that he could not reach the scratch. The shackles that bound him to the wall were old and rusted, and its feathers had cut into his wrists. When the tide rushed in to kiss him, the salt got into his wounds and made him gasp. When he slept, the darkness would rise and swallow him, and then the dreams would come, and Euron, and the scream of the rusted head. Now, myself and many other GOT people in the fandom a long time ago, we thought that he was being molested by his brother, and this confirms that without a doubt that he was definitely being molested by his brother. Now, we also see later on that he confesses to the deaths of his brother. Now, in this season of Game of Thrones, we've seen Euron quickly confess to killing Balon, and people were very upset about this. But this could have just been a kind of stripped down version of this chapter, and that is why they put it in the show.
To execute the man who killed my father.
I did. I killed him. Threw him right over a rope bridge and watched him fall. He was leading us nowhere. And we would still be heading there if it weren't for me.
Once aboard the Sounds, he hung the lantern from a post and poured them cups of wine. "Drink with me, brother," he said. That night he wore a shirt and iron scales and a cloak of blood-red silk. His eye patch was red leather. His lips were blue. "Why am I here?" Aeron croaked at him. His lips were crusty and scabbed. His voice was hard. "Where are we sailing? South. For conquest, plunder, dragons, madness. My place is in the islands. Your place is where I want you. I am your king. What do you want of me? What can you offer me that I have not had before?" Euron smiled. "I left the islands in the hands of Eric Ironmaker and sealed his loyalty with the hands of our sweet Asha. I will not have you preaching against his rule, so I took you with us. Release me. The gods command it. Drink with me. Your king commands it." Euron grabbed a handful of the priest's tangled black hair, pulled his head back and lifted his wine cup to his lips. But what flowed into his mouth was not wine. It was thick, with a taste that seemed to change with every swallow. Now bitter, now sour, now sweet. When Aeron tried to spit it out, his brother tightened his grip and forced it down his throat. "That's it, priest. Gulp it down. The wine's of the warlocks, sweeter than your seawater, with more truth in it than all your gods on earth." "Ursula," Aeron said it when the cup was empty. Liquor dripped down his chin into his long black beard. "If I had a tongue of every man who cursed me, I could make a cloak of them." Aeron hawked and spat. His spittle stuck in his brother's cheek and hung there, blue and black, glistening. Euron flicked it off his face with his forefinger and licked his finger clean. "Your god will come for you tonight. Some god, at least." The damn pair slept, sagging in his chains. He heard a creaking, rusty hinge. "Yuri!" he cried. There was no hinge here, no door, no Yuri. His brother Euron was long dead, yet there he stood, one arm swollen black, stinking with maggots. But he was still Yuri, still a boy, no older than the day he died.
know what awaits below the sea, brother? The Dragon God,
Aeron said.
the watery hills,
Yuri shook his head.
worms. Worms await you, Euron.
When he laughed his face out, often the priest saw it was not Yuri, but Yuri. The smiling eye hit him. He showed the world his blood eye now, dark and terrible. Clad head to heel in scale as dark as onyx, as he sat upon the mound of blackened skulls as dwarfs capered around his feet as the forge burned behind him.
The bleeding spar bespoke the end,
He said to Euron.
These are the last days when the world shall be broken and remade. A new god shall be born from the graves of the charred pit.
Then Euron lifted a great horn to his lips and blew, and dragons and krakens and sphinxes came to his command and bowed before him.
Kneel, brother.
The crow's eye commanded.
I am your king. I am your god. Worship me, and I will raise you up as my priest. Never. No godless man may sit the sea stone chair. Why would I want that hard black rock? Brother, look again. See where I am seated.
Aeron looked. The mound of skulls were gone. Now it was metal underneath the crow's eye. A great, tall, twisted seat of razor-sharp iron. Barbs and blades and broken swords all dripping with blood. Impaled upon the longer spikes were the bodies of the gods. The maiden was there, and the father, and the mother, the warrior, and the crone, and the smith, even the stranger. They hung side to side with all the manner of queer foreign gods. The great shepherd, the black goat, three heads trios, and the pale children of Black, the Lord of Light, and the butterfly god of night. All there, swollen and green, half devoured by crabs. The drowned god festered with the rest, seawater still dripping from his head. Then, Euron Crow's eye laughed again, and the priest woke screaming in the bowels of the silence. As piss ran down his leg, it was only a dream, a vision born of a foul black wine. Now the first thing we gotta take for this, and I'm confident to say this, is that Euron definitely has a glass candle. Why do we know he has a glass candle? Well, when he goes and sees his brother, he tells him straight up, "You're going to see a god tonight, or some form of a god." And then the first thing he sees is his brother Yuri. And then it's Euron impersonating Yuri. And then he thinks it's so funny that when he starts laughing, he has worms on his face and the worms fall away, and then it reveals himself as Euron behind Yuri, just making fun of him. So it's obvious that Euron Greyjoy has a glass candle that he is using to manipulate his brother in his dreams, and that this drink that he has, it's also helping these factors be more effectual to him. It says at this particular time that Euron is not afraid to show himself to the world, right? He is not afraid to show himself, his true self, to the world, and what that is a blood eye, and we see that blood eye is dark and terrible, and at this particular time he is clad head to heel in some scale that is dark as onyx. Now we find out what that is later. And we also see at this particular time he is on a mound of blackened skulls as dwarfs caper around his feet, and there is a forest burning behind him. So what I think is going on right here is that Euron has gained control of a dragon, and he has burnt down the Isle of Faces, and he has also burnt down a bunch of other people, and that is why there is a bunch of skulls there. The dwarfs people that are capered around his feet are either the dwarves that he has that he likes to play with, or it could be some green people that he has charred down there that are just trying to escape or something like that. But I believe that that is most likely what is going to happen right there. Euron definitely at this particular time is in control of a dragon. That is why he is not afraid to show people who he really is. So he's like, fuck it, I got a dragon, what the fuck you gonna do? Next, we see that Euron knows about the Azor Ahai prophecy, and he says the bleeding star bespoke the end, which is exactly what the Azor Ahai prophecy is. Because in the Azor Ahai it says he will be reborn when the bleeding star comes, and that's when darkness falls upon the world. That's when Azor Ahai will be reborn. And so that is the end of the world. So we see right here that Euron is bringing in the long night. He wants the long night to come in, or he knows that it is coming in, and these will be the last days. And after these last days, that there will be a new birth of the world, and he wants to be the king of that new world. He wants to be the god of that new world. And at the end, we see Euron lift the great horn to his lips and blow. And then dragons, krakens, sphinxes come to his command and bow before him. Now, I don't believe that they are actual creatures that are this. I just think that they are the symbols of the people that will be bowing before him. But we see him blow this horn. I do believe that this is Dragonbinder, him blowing it. But we know that if someone actually does blow this horn, that person is going to die, or supposedly supposed to die, and get burned alive. That's why this is just a dream showing what's going to happen. That's really going to be Victorion, or someone blowing the horn and dying. But he will be in control of the dragons because he has already claimed the horn somehow with blood some way. So after that, we see Euron talking to his brother, and he tells him that he's his king. He tells him to worship him. He tells him that that's the way it has to be done, and if he doesn't do it, and if he does it like that, he'll make him his priest. And he's like, nah, man, it can't be done like that, because no godless man may seat the sea-stone chair. And that's when he's like, man, what are you thinking? I want the sea-stone chair? And then we hear a reference of hard black rocks, which sounds like that oily black stone, something to do with that. Again, Aeron Dampere then looked again, and then we see that the mound of skulls are gone. And underneath it, obviously, we see him sitting on the Iron Throne. Now, on the Iron Throne, it is basically impaled with all of the gods. He has sacrificed all the gods. So it's saying here, in order for Euron to get the Iron Throne, he has to make a sacrifice of basically all these gods, and that is what he is doing.
He heard the pounding of the waves, the hammering of the gods calling him to battle, and then, the drowned god had come to him once more, his voice welling up from the depths of the sea. Euron, my faithful servant, you must tell the Ironborn that the Crow's Eye is not the true king. The sea-stone chair by right belongs to.
Not Victorion. Victorion had offered himself to the captains, but the kings had spurned him. Through the chapter, I think we see exactly what this is all about right here. And it is, as I told you, it is that Euron is using these sacrifices so that he can claim the dragon horn, Dragonbinder, to himself. And now we can see it definitely is. I use this chapter, this little part right here, to prove that point, because right when questioning why is he doing this, the first person he thinks of is Victorion, and we know the horn is with Victorion, and the part goes like this.
In his saner moments, Aeron questioned why the Crow's Eye was collecting priests, but he did not think he would like the answer. Euron haunted his fever dreams. You're dead, Yuri, Aeron thought. Sleep now, child, and trouble me no more. Soon I shall come join you.
So right here we see this man is still going into his dreams, still torturing him, and still giving him this dream of his brother. This man definitely feels guilty about his brother. And then after that, you see that we hear the warlocks are in the background making noises.
You have a thirsty look about you, he said as he poured. You need a drink. A taste of the evening shade. No, I said. And I said yes.
Euron pulled his head back by the hair and forced the vile liquor into his mouth again.
Though Aeron clamped his mouth shut, twisting his head from side to side, he fought the best he could. But in the end, he had to choke or swallow. The dreams were even worse the second time. He saw the long ships of the Ironborn adrift and burning on the boiling blood-red sea. He saw his brother on the Iron Throne again, but Euron was no longer human. He seemed more squid than man, a monster fathered by the kraken of the deep. His face was a mass of writhing tentacles,
Beside him stood a shadow in woman's form, long and tall and terrible, her hands alive with pale white fire. Dwarfs capered for their amusement, male and female, naked and misshapen, locked in cardinal embrace, biting and tearing at each other as Euron and his mate laughed and laughed and laughed. Alright, so this next set of dreams are very telling. I think it shows right off the bat Victorion dead. Victorion and his whole Iron Fleet dead. The boiling blood red sea is them being killed by Dany or whoever, whatever's going down there, and them being destroyed in fire at the sea. Or maybe Euron gets control of the dragon and goes in there and swoops in and kills him himself. You could tie in the prophecy of Mokoro when he says that the bright future awaits the Iron Captain. This is the bright future that awaits him right here, and from that vision that Mokoro sees. This is the one that ties that in. Next we see Euron manipulating the dream as usual, and now he's turning his form into a kraken, because obviously this is what this guy prays to. This is what this guy would be most afraid of if this guy seemed like he is the big huge kraken. And then besides him we see a woman, and this woman is described as tall and terrible, and her hands are alive with a pale white fire. Now I know that some people think that this woman is Dany, but the fact that Dany is called a lot of things, but she is never called tall. So we have to take her right out. Now there are only a couple of tall women that are in this book that are described as such. And we have Brienne of Tarth is very tall. We have Melisandre is very tall. And we have Cersei Lannister is very tall. And out of all three of these women, I'm going to have to go with this is Cersei Lannister. And the reason why I'm going to go with that is because we have pale white, just like we have what is described as Cersei Lannister's neck is described as pale white for that reason. And what we see the transformation that has become her, and how she has destroyed things and burnt things already. And we see that earlier we have Euron sitting on things that have been burnt already. So it definitely could be a signal to that right there. So I believe that this is Cersei Lannister that is going to become Euron's mate, and they are the ones that are laughing together. Using the shade of the evening drink, he went inside of his brother's dreams to show him a glimpse of the future that he has probably thinks that he has seen. By sacrificing all these priests to these gods, I believe that is how he shall claim the dragon horn. And when he claims the dragon horn, it will allow him to get a dragon, and then he will set people ablaze, and that is how he is going to take over the world. So, if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace! And stay sexy.